everybody, and welcome to our favorites. And we have worked our way through my top 10. We have worked our way through Jake's top 10. We did a fun bit on Christmas.
3 weeks.
Yeah, it was a fun little holiday bit. And now...
Happy New Year, by the way,
yes,
again.
Happy New Year.
First video of the new year.
First, our favorites of the new year. Heck yeah. And now we have made it to the worst of all. Hey, Jared.
Everybody ready to sleep for 10 hours?
Oh, boy. Here we go. Yes. No, we all have great movies. This is going to be a good one. But we're on to Jared's top 10 of all time. And, Jared, what is your 10th favorite movie of all time?
So to begin my list, I have a very wide range of years, is very eclectic person in general, and big lover of classic film. There is the most recent is 2013, same as Jake's, the oldest being in the 30s. We're starting off this list in the 1950s with the musical classic Singin' in the Rain.
Good movie.
Yes, just big part of my childhood. My parents, not that they were the biggest classic movie fans, like not that we watched a whole bunch, but there's like a select bunch. Just like anyone's parents have the ones they watch, but a lot of them just happen to be classics. This is one of them. It's actually, if you're watching, I have this DVD copy. It's one of those Warner Brothers like paper cases with the, look how scratched up that disc is, because this thing is like 20 years old.
Is that your first DVD copy of it?
This isn't mine.
Oh.
This is my parents'.
Oh.
This is my parents' copy. This is the copy I first watched the movie on and watched many times. My siblings and I were not great with discs back in the day. I matured very fast on that front, because by about 7th, 8th grade, I started collecting and really took care of my discs, and that's when I'm like, okay, I'm taking all my movies out of the circulation of the house and putting them in my room, because these people are animals when it comes to discs, just stacks of discs. I was part of the problem for a long time, but by about end of middle school, beginning of high school, it changed. And this is the copy right here. I always hate these cases because these clip things break easily, and paper tends to get scuffed up very easily.
Just a little bit.
And Warner Brothers did a whole bunch of these in the early 2000s. So
they also get really sun-worn really easily comparatively.
Yep. But it's that copy, and it sat around for years before I watched it. I remember, I was aware of it. It's got the cover of him on the lamppost, which is an iconic image. That's Gene Kelly, by the way. And one day, my siblings and I sat down and watched it. And ever since, all three of us love it and quote it, sing the songs. It's one of the earliest jukebox musicals, with the majority of the songs coming from pre-existing musicals. It's kind of like a greatest hits of sorts of those early musicals. And yeah, that's kind of the backstory of Singin' in the Rain. It has stayed with me through all this time, and watching it this time, I hadn't seen it in years. Right away, it's like, oh yeah, I love this thing. I think you had a similar experience.
I literally Snapchatted Jared last night while I was watching it. I took a picture. I'm like, man, I forgot how much I love this movie. It's funny. Some of the fast-paced quips that it has felt very like comedies nowadays, because I feel like nowadays they always go for those zingers, the one-liners off the top. And
that is not a nowadays thing, though.
Oh, there's a lot of comedies that do that now.
Oh, now I'm saying, but that's not when it started.
No, I'm not saying that's when it started, but I just feel like a lot of comedies nowadays use one-liners, use zingers as their way. In this, I mean, we mentioned it before. I don't want to steal the thunder too much, but we mentioned one of the best ones, hey, Cosmo, call me a cab, will you?
Okay, you're a cab.
Thanks a lot. It's so simple. It's a silly, goofy movie, and it's so much fun. Oh, I love it.
And Jake had never seen it before.
Oh yeah, that's the first time.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
My parents aren't big movie people.
But I didn't see this with my parents. I actually saw this when I went to college.
Yeah, but you went to film school.
Yeah, I did. That's true.
But for you, wouldn't you say, are your parents similar? There's a select group of movies they love, and that's what you're exposed to, just like mine. But where in my case, it's like this. Yours is, I know your dad likes spaghetti westerns.
Yeah, right? What I would say is, my dad likes spaghetti westerns and macho things.
And what about your mom? Does she not
Christmas
much into
movies?
Or mostly Christmas movies?
Hallmark stuff.
Yeah. pretty much. She's every Hallmark Christmas movie recorded on the DVR. And she watches them all throughout the year.
Wow.
My mom loves, like, you know that I love Christmas. I would multiply that by about 10.
I mean, if you watch Hallmark Christmas movies outside of the Christmas holiday,
it just makes you feel a certain way. Like that's all there is to it. It just makes you feel a certain way.
Yeah, nostalgia.
But yeah, this is my obviously. I've seen or I've heard songs and I've seen scenes before. I think at this point we all have.
It's one of the most iconic movies. It's often cited as the best movie musical ever made.
It was a really interesting experience for me going into a movie, being intrinsically familiar with all of the songs, with maybe one exception, but having never seen the movie.
Just how much it's
make them laugh.
culture.
Make them laugh. Like, I hear that everywhere. You hear Singing in the Rain everywhere. You hear Good Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, Dickie, what did you think the name of the song was?
Absolute. Oh yeah, I texted Jared.
We've talked the whole night.
Yeah, I woke up to like 10. We're talking in the group chat. There's like, it was really weirded out. It really weirded me out because I woke up and I saw this text that was, pardon my language, you, Jared. Now I'm gonna have this song stuck in my head. I was like, what did I miss?
And I'm just trying to watch Clueless, and he keeps texting me.
Clueless is a great movie.
It's fun.
But I say that because the first time I watched this, when I was in school at Grand Valley, I watched this, and I'm not kidding you when I tell you that damn song was ringing through my head for a month. It's
interesting
catchy.
that you used an incorrect name for it then.
It is kind of comical.
And why'd you pick that line, not the line that they say 12 times in the song?
Because for some reason, we talk the whole night through. Just the way he sings that is the part that just it digs itself into my head.
To be fair, not even a singing part. Like, I watched this in 2 chunks because of what I was doing the day that I watched it, and I just didn't have another time to watch it. So there's like a melody in the background of the car when he's talking to Debbie Reynolds the first time that I found myself whistling the entire day.
That initial car ride where she basically insults him.
They're not.
That's a great scene.
Well, I think I've seen 1 or 2 of your movies, and then like 5 minutes later.
Well, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. And he was kind of like inching closer to her, and you get a little uncomfortable. You realize, okay, he's just this full of himself rich guy. And then the second she drops him out, he just kind of. It's the Michael Scott.
Literally.
It's like she just. I guess emasculate would be a good way to say. Just knocks him down.
Oh yeah.
It's the first time anyone hasn't told him how great he is in who knows how long. Because as we'll get into the beginning, he's kind of for a long time been at the top of the mountain. So someone finally knocked him down when he was. Oh, maybe it sends him into a crisis of maybe I'm not as good as I thought. Which he is. He's very talented. It's Gene Kelly, for crying out loud.
How can you not love Gene? That man smiles.
Well,
I'm just like, oh, man,
I know one person who didn't love Gene Kelly while making this movie. Debbie Reynolds.
Really?
You don't know any of this?
I don't know the
So,
tea.
now this is something that it's well known. It's well talked about, and it's during filming.
The 80-year-old tea.
Listen, sometimes there's really good tea that you just don't drink. And
it's just cold tea now. It's just
really,
cold tea.
This is piping cold tea. This is what I'm drinking right now. It's pure leaf.
So Debbie Reynolds was a gymnast and not a dancer, and she was cast at 19 years old. So here she is working on this big Hollywood production with a very recognizable actor in Gene Kelly, who's also co-director with Stanley Donen. And he's a perfectionist. He's also choreographing it with Stanley Donen. So you're talking about total control freak, who's the main character, just controlling everything, and he is ruthless. And he is not very nice to her because she's not getting the dances down because she's not a dancer. She's very athletic and she's very physical. You can tell that. I remember, real quick tangent, I was watching one of the featurettes that a bunch of choreographers talk about it, and they were saying how in the scene where he sings to her about his feelings, where he's setting the stage, literally, and he like lifts her up, and they say like, notice how she's putting her like forearms, and I could be saying this wrong, but he's holding her up, and she's like resting her forearms on his shoulders, and it's like anyone less physically capable would be shaking. to hold themselves up there, but she is still. It's because she is used to that kind of physical activity, and because she's a gymnast, can hold herself up there pretty well.
Interesting.
So it's not like she can't do it. It's just you're going from something like, gymnastics to very carefully choreographed, everything must be perfect, dance routines, which he probably kept messing up, and he's probably getting pissed at her because it's Gene Kelly and he's in control, and he was not nice to her.
Wow.
And the urban legend is, and I don't think it's really an urban legend, really, but they say Fred Astaire was around, the famous actor-dancer, found her crying under a piano, which the first time I read that, I'm like, how'd she get under a piano? Oh, like underneath. Okay, I thought she was like trapped under a piano and he saved her. But was crying, and he apparently helped her out, and she started nailing the dances. It's just, you need positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
You're 19 in Hollywood, and the director co-star is screaming at you.
And a woman.
Wow.
Yep. So
that's
it had
really
to be
interesting.
nailed her
hard.
dances. Feet were bleeding at the end of Good Morning, too, just because dancing in those shoes, up and down the stairs, all that. But
I mean, they were moving their feet like that's.
And Gene Kelly later did say, like, I'm surprised she still talks to me for how I treated her. So he did acknowledge the poor treatment. And Debbie Reynolds would later say, the two hardest things I've ever done in my life are giving birth and working on this movie.
Huh.
So, and we all know who her daughter is, Carrie Fisher.
The lovely, actually, she's not either of the things that I have on.
No.
But
I'm not even sure how that overshirt is a Star Wars related piece.
I'm gonna stay
I know it has that. I know it. Okay.
A giant picture on the back that I didn't even see.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Here we are again talking about Star Wars on our podcast in any way possible. But I mean, it's
Everything
the mother
ties
of one
back
of the
to
most
Star
iconic
Wars.
characters. So
Anyway, so just not to backtrack a whole bunch, but just Dickey said something about that comedy, and I wanted to throw in my 2 cents. From what I've never seen any of the movies that I'm going to compare this to, but I would say that the type of comedy that is portrayed in this, in the way that the movie itself pays homage to what came before it, reminded me much more of the way what you tell me about Marx Brothers comedy.
there's a similarity. It's kind of like the movie. You can even say is a parody.
Oh, it's absolutely a parody.
Like some people might not think of it that way because parody now kind of is a different feel because of what we've gotten. It's less, people take it less serious, but this is basically making fun of Hollywood while also embracing it. It's a great
It walks that
duality
line
there.
perfectly,
Yeah, and yes, works like a Marx Brothers movie in parts. Also works like a screwball comedy of old, and that's why I'm saying, like, the zingers and the one-liners and the fast back and forth, very, very like screwball comedies from the 30s and 40s. Which screwball comedies are really
trouble
fun.
within 6 hours now.
I can't understand it. This car hasn't given me a lick of trouble in 6 hours. What a relatable line these days. He's such a great character. Donald O'Connor is
Cosmo.
yeah. So I say it's so funny.
God.
I still can't believe he ran up those signs like that and make them
Well, I
laugh.
was gonna say also just the way that man controls his face. Like
They talking
I'm
about when he's
thinking
trying to sing and he's like rearranging and then just
doing that, and then also when he's making the faces behind the diction coach.
Moses supposes his toes are roses.
And he's just like it's just.
And he nails it every time, except the last one, of course, because he catches him.
It's just so it's so funny. Like the worst part was because I was, when I was texting you, I was watching this late at night, and I'm trying to, and Sam's sleeping in the room like right next door, and I'm trying not to be loud. I'm trying my hardest, but then like half the movie I am cackling. It was a struggle.
Oh, she's irresistible. She told me so herself.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Good one.
Another good one is like we have to do everything in our power and cost to make sure our stars don't look ridiculous. Nobody's got that much money. And then one of my favorites too is when after the failed premiere of The Dueling Cavalier, and Don says like, "Did you see anything up on that screen as idiotic as me?" Yeah. How about Lena?
They are so mean to her.
They are so.
She is
mean to
terrible.
her, but it's so
She is
funny.
But you don't hate her. That's the thing. Like, she's awful, and you don't hate her. You just laugh at her.
That was the funniest moment when we were talking about this earlier today, and you're like, "So what did you think of Lena when you heard her?" I was like, "Gotta be honest, she's just the stereotype of what I thought that period of Hollywood people sounded like."
Yeah. Exactly.
And that is a put-on voice.
It is.
You know, yep, that's her putting on that voice, and it is so funny, her trying to get those words with her diction coach.
Oh my god.
And I can't stand them.
I
Can't.
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 They just go like, can't.
And I was telling Jake about this, and in a funny...
I swear to God, I can make fun of the way I talk.
I mean, I do hear some similarities.
I really do too. Yeah.
I wish we had some of her trying to say salsa or Las Vegas.
I watched this and I'm like, oh god, I know where this is gonna go. I already know this is gonna go down that road.
Who can we pay to stand behind Dickey at all times?
And then I was just about to say the funniest thing though is they didn't find Debbie Reynolds' Midwestern accent to be like, you know, graceful enough for the Dancing Cavalier dub. So the voice dubbing for Debbie Reynolds for the dubbing scene is Gene Hagen's actual voice. So she's dubbing for Debbie Reynolds, who's dubbing for her character. The actress Selena is Gene Hagen. She dubbed Debbie Reynolds' lines just for the scene dubbing the movie because it sounded more, more fancy or fitting.
That is so funny.
And it's like part of it is it's a artistic choice, but also it is kind of funny to add that layer of like even they are dubbing, and the singing voice is neither of them; it's someone else for the "Would You" song. But all the rest of Debbie singing is Debbie singing.
That's so funny.
I know.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
That screening though, that of the preview of the Dueling Cavalier is so funny. Just what killed me this time is when he throws that staff. He comes in and it's all gong, and they just hear bah! And of course I misheard the words when I was a kid because she hits him with her fans, whack whack. Hey Elena, what are you hitting him with, a blackjack? I heard flapjack as a kid, and I was like,
that makes sense.
That doesn't make
pancakes.
It's like that doesn't make any sense. Why would a pancake make that? But then you turn subtitles on, you watch it as an adult, you're like, oh, blackjack. That makes a lot more sense.
Subtitles are key.
Especially when they're moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. Yeah, and then, of course, the synchronization is out. No. Yes. No. Yeah, like that whole, I don't think either of you have seen Babylon, the Damien Chazelle movie.
No,
from
I
last
keep
year.
meaning to see it.
And they basically extend that sequence because that whole sequence of Lena is not talking into the mic, and it's real problems of they've never used this before.
That was so funny.
I know when she kept talking.
Well, I can't make love to a bush.
That wasn't.
So they put it here, and then you like that. It's like, what's that noise? The mic's picking up her heartbeat. God. They based that director off of, I think, was it von Stroheim? But which apparently a mic picked up Debbie Reynolds' heartbeat in a different song. I think it was All I Do Is Dream of You. It's one of them I read, it actually did pick up her heartbeat on accident. But, it's just funny how the technology works. And then they put it here, and then RF walks in. Someone's going to triple this. He just yanks it. The director's crying. Basically, you take that 3-minute scene and you extend it to 10 minutes for Babylon, and they do it, and it's the same kind of everything's going wrong, and it's frustrating. Mm-hmm. And instead of hiding mics, they've got a planted one, up here, and there's an X for your spot that you have to stand in that spot or it won't hear you. And she keeps Margot Robbie misses her mark, and she's screaming yeah.
I really want to watch that.
Yeah, and it's easy to see the influence of Singing in the Rain, not only on everything, but when you watch Babylon specifically, it's easy, and you'll see why in the last chunk of the movie. Why? Because they literally show the movie in there. You were saying
it is literally one of the most influential films in cinema.
Ever.
Period. Mic drop. Yeah.
It's not even a mic drop. Then not even a hot take. Watching this, you're like, oh, for someone like me who had not seen it before. Oh, this is what they were doing in La La Land. I know what's going on
another
here.
Influence. Another Damien Chazelle movie that takes direct influence from it. So
another one?
Another Damien Chazelle movie.
That takes direct influence from what is the other one?
Babylon.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's why I really want to watch it, because I love Chazelle, but I've just heard such polarizing things about it.
Not to go off on that tangent, half or 2/3 of it is some of my favorite movie ever. Because it's hitting everything I love about classic cinema and making movies, and just it's funny, and there's a lot of stuff going on. It goes wild. The music is fantastic. Good performances. The last hour, and I say it because it's It's almost the
movie.
it's
a 3-hour movie, isn't it?
It is almost as long as the second Avatar movie.
Yeah,
it's like 2 minutes short. It's like 190 minutes.
Yeah, it's insane.
But the last like hour is where it loses me, and the very end also it gets. I can't explain it, but
yeah,
it's so close. I'd watch it again. It's very interesting. It might be more interesting to talk about than it is good. But I enjoyed it. Watch it for the sake of conversation, I say.
I want to watch it because I love Damien Chazelle.
And that too. And there are people like, this movie's great. Why is no one talking about this? It's like, oh, people are. It's just, it's divisive. And some people are saying, I think it's going to pick up in popularity as it ages. I think it will. I'm still probably at this point, going to hold to, I think that third act is where it falters. It needs to get shaved down.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if it remains divisive. Anyway.
What was that?
He knows what he's doing.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was I going to say? Dickey's poor language skills.
Do you want me to continue on something until you think of it?
I think that was it. Just Dickey's poor language skills.
It's full stop. End of podcast.
One of my favorite openings to a movie, to that whole sequence of you get all the exposition you need about the main characters in a very fun way that fits the medium.
Did you know that you write like that?
I write like what?
Like the opening of that movie.
How he's lying about everything? Is he calling me a liar? What do you mean I write like that?
The opening of the movie, in the way that the exposition is presented through the reporter and him, you set things up in that way.
Which, it's a good way to do exposition. It's not just, I'm telling this character this blatantly, even though they already know it. It's more of a, he's talking to the crowd around them. Now, is that a pretty long time to be talking outside before premiere? Yeah.
I was thinking that exact thing. I'm like, are they going to get into the movie? How long is this red carpet going on?
One sort of parallel, not parallel, but I guess parallel, I kind of drew was like, this reminded me of, it's not the same, obviously. It kind of feels like the same sort of struggle as The Artist. Not as intense, but it was interesting.
I brought it.
Oh, there you go.
I'll bring this up in a second. I brought props if you want to watch. But, yes, we'll get into that in a second because there's so much history about this because it's a turning point in Hollywood as well. To keep talking about that opening sequence, though, when I was watching that featurette, which, funny enough, once Usher started talking, it froze. My disc froze.
No.
Not happy about that. The movie worked fine, but the one big featurette, it's like a 50-minute featurette, and at the 40-minute mark, it froze.
Oh, that's annoying.
And it's like, there's the DVDs, I could put that in. Yeah, could put that in. It's 2 a.m., I am going to go to bed. But they were talking about how he's lying about his backstory. And it's hilarious because he's talking eloquently about all this stuff, like how he was raised and went to art school and the whole we were stranded, we were staying, and it's nighttime in the rain outside the employment office. And it's just showing he is lying. He's having this fantasy about this is how he actually got here compared to the more, what's the, I don't know, fancy way,
eloquent?
Yeah, you know what I mean? He's making it seem better than it actually was. And one of the choreographers talking there, it was either choreographer or maybe it was Rob Marshall. They were talking about how the movie starts with he's kind of making up this fantasy, and the dance sequences kind of are mostly kind of, they actually happen, of course, in real life because that's how he functions outside of it. And then it morphs into, we get to the Broadway melody sequence, and it's 50 minutes of everything in his head. We go from him making it up and lying in the progression to now it's all in his head. This is what he's embracing this part of him. And I go, that's a really interesting perspective.
That is.
I never thought about that.
I didn't even think about
I've
that.
seen this 20 times. I've never thought of it. Now, yes, a lot of those were as a kid. But when he mentions, that's a really interesting way to look at the movie, how all the dancing tells the story. And it progresses into, they're singing in their home. They're singing, on stages and all that. But now we get to the point where it's all in his head. And everything in that sequence is so good.
Take. Oh, yeah,
almost responded with, is he also singing in the rain?
Yeah, what a
police
secret.
officer gives him a very stern look for just splashing in some
Yeah,
puddles.
what the hell, man?
It's a grown man at like 3 a.m. Splashing in the rain like a little kid. I'd probably be like, "What's up, dude?"
He's probably, what year was that supposed
Did you
to
take
be?
some of that devil's lettuce?
Yeah, I was saying, what year was that supposed to be? There was
27. Yeah. The year of the jazz singer has the big
Yeah.
thing. And it's funny, they say, Warner Brothers put out the jazz singer. This is Warner Brothers that made the movie.
That's right.
But it's monumental pictures within the movie. And it is funny, I think you brought up when we were in conversation earlier how a lot of times the gimmicks that get called gimmicks say it.
So the whole thing is about the transition from silent era to talkies, which is what they were called originally, right? Mm-hmm. So it's funny. There's a line in there about how, oh yeah, sound is a gimmick; it'll never last. And
It's vulgar.
Yeah.
Come out from behind the curtain, Mr. Simpson. Oh no, I'm right here.
That is the creepiest shot of an old man I've ever
Dude,
seen.
it is.
I was like,
nervous.
Hello.
I don't know why.
This is a talking picture. My voice is recorded on a record. A talking picture.
And it was
I don't know if it
close
was
to
like
him
his
and, like,
teeth
distorted.
or
It was
what.
his
Like
teeth.
I was like,
His teeth were creepy.
Jared, this is supposed to be a Halloween movie. Anyway, what I was saying to Jared is like when they started talking about that, I started thinking about just technology as a general because I'm an IT professional and like I think about that stuff.
You gonna bring up 3D?
No, I actually wasn't thinking about 3D. I was thinking that the things that people think are gimmicks tend to be the long-lasting technologies versus the things that people think this is the future.
Those die out.
Yeah, like you look at things like Laserdisc. Everybody's like, "Oh, this is the future," and yes, it kind of is. Like the technology has been long-lasting, but like a Laserdisc itself
Even
is
Blu-rays
obsolete.
now. Even Blu-rays now.
Yeah, well, those too, are like Virtual Boy, which in and of itself was a gimmick, but like it was sold as like this is the future. Like it's gone now, or but like 3D, people, this is a gimmick. It'll be gone in 3 years. Never thinking about the fact that it was around well before the way we modernly know it.
Modernized it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Modernize it, and then what?
Like things like the Virtual Boy, like that was a gimmick, even 3D. And then I got thinking like, okay, so like we're at an interesting point in technology, right? Because we're talking about AI and how that integrates into the arts, and a lot of people think it's a gimmick, but a lot of people think it's the way of the future. And I just wonder, like, I know it's the thing that's scaring everybody. It's the thing that the strikes are about.
Yeah.
At the
least
moment
at
of
the time of
this.
recording.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It makes me wonder how it's going to end up because, like, I don't think AI is going away. I think the way it's regulated and the way it is integrated will be shaped.
I mean, again, just not to keep time stamping us, but the way the writers that they got, the way that it is going to be relegated to not overtaking anybody's actual jobs. It's going to be a tool. That's what it's going to be used as. It's not going to, like, I cannot imagine, and I know, again, it's just so weird talking about, like, when this is actually going to come out, but I cannot imagine the actors are going to, allow at all what the studios want. They're not going to allow them to sign their whole rights away as a person, as a voice, as a face, just for AI. I truly think AI is just going to be a tool.
Well, and then so that would fall into the thing where people say it's the thing of the future, and I think it will be in terms of like stats and planning and all that.
Yes.
But like AWS, like that's a powerful. Yeah. Like, it's funny how this movie that is
70 years old.
Yeah, and like is not as we would consider it technologically advanced, I think, even for the time it came out in, except for maybe that scarf scene, which we'll get to.
Get there.
It makes us think about that technology because it doesn't speak about the technology itself. He speaks to that moment in time where things pivot, and I think that inspires causes fear, anxiety, all of that. Like, I think this is a good movie to feel that too, not just for film itself, but just society as a whole.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking the same exact thing when I was watching this. I'm like, them talking about introducing a new technology into movies. That's literally what you were saying. It's literally 3D, it's AI, it's James Cameron in a nutshell. Like,
I just said mother.
Like, it's so interesting that if you just learn to embrace that things are going to change and change isn't a bad thing.
That speaks to that TikTok you sent me, I think it was earlier this week. I think it's Scorsese talking to a class. What did he say? Like, you know, you're the ones that are changing this. Like, a shot doesn't mean the same thing that it meant. And I think right now, portrayed in this movie, and right now we are at a precipice where that is very, very true.
Yes. Oh, yes. And
which is sad for me to admit, but that fuels his argument of this is subjective solely.
Yes, absolutely.
You're still wrong about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Just because I am sort of backing you on that with this statement doesn't mean he's going to let you go on that.
Well, I am well aware he will never let anything go.
He never does.
No, I'm still mad over the thing you did to me years ago. I don't remember what you did, but I remember you screwed me over, and I'm mad at you.
I think you're still mad about that card sitting right there on that desk.
I'm pretty sure you're referring to me taking away Premiere. Is that what it was?
You know, I forgot about that. Add that to the list.
Oh, no!
I wake up, I go to work on something, and Premiere won't open. It's asking for a login, and the login doesn't work. And I text Dickey, hey, what's your Premiere password? Oh, I got rid of that. And when were you going to tell me that? I forgot. Thanks, now I can't use it, and I need it.
Adobe, don't cancel my account, please.
Circling back, though, it's funny how sometimes the gimmicks do take forever, because I wrote this down. The some of the earliest examples of sound on film are in like the 1890s or 80s, somewhere in there.
Really?
Like, it was around, but it wasn't used in a full-length feature.
I can't
at least
imagine it was very cost-effective to record something to a record like that.
No, and like I wrote the kinetophone, but from Edison is one of the first ones. You know, it's that clip of the guy playing the violin, and it's like, I think there's another one around in Paris, and they're usually one-person viewers where you'd look in and watch it.
Oh,
and the two ways that sound is put onto film, I'm not very good with sciencey stuff, so I'm going to do my best to explain just, and it's not like it needs that much explaining. You guys are smart enough. Jake is smart enough about it.
Wait, are you talking about on like a film projector like that?
I'm just saying the two ways.
It works like a tape. Like, light flashes through the film and makes this thing vibrate that causes
and that
sound.
was the one way they eventually got to, but the other one was just phonograph. Like, they just record it straight and you just sync it.
Can you imagine what a pain in the butt?
Yes.
Good God.
They must have had, like, they had to have marked up those records, right? But the amount of records that they would have had to press just with, like, this side corresponds to this reel, or I can't even imagine a side lasting an entire reel.
The shorts, because the shorts are usually like, the early ones are real short, but then 5 to 10 minutes, so that can fit on a side, you'd think, or however, I don't know how long they fit back then.
Or like, are we talking
the phonograph? The length of the phonograph now usually it's like 20 minutes a side, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about back then, but I'm just saying, like, it was mostly used in shorts, and it was seen as a gimmick, and people would tour them, showing these films with sound, but it was short, and it was seen as, that's not real, because movies had become something very visual, and you didn't need sound. You just have like an organ player, piano player. I don't know if they had full orchestra. Probably just like the point being, all the music you heard was outside.
That does make me curious. Was part of the reason that Debbie Reynolds was saying the stage was better was because you could hear it?
Yeah, she's saying, because remember, they're up there. They don't talk. They don't act. And she says that, and he shoots a look over at her, and it's like, her point is, it's not really acting. You're just a shadow on the screen, because the stage acting, because it's one of those things like, stage acting is seen as a performance medium, and when movies come in, it's like, this isn't real. This is just a fun little cheap gimmick.
So
this is real, and then as movies get more eloquent, when the sound comes in, that's just a gimmick. This is real movies. That's how that works. And then when it shifts,
keeps changing with the times. It's crazy.
It's exactly like what Scorsese said.
I know. It's just crazy how a movie from you said 50s?
52.
Is still important today.
That might be why my parents never bothered to show it to me. And that was the year my dad was born.
Gotcha. Are they much musical fans?
Depends.
Can I just pick and choose a couple outliers type? My mom is a big musicals fan, so that's one reason
I will tell you that most of the films my dad holds close to his heart are either the spaghetti westerns from the 60s or anything with Clint Eastwood, really, but also 80s films.
He's a big 80s films fan.
Well, I mean, that's when he was like a...
He was in his 30s.
No.
You said he's born
I
52.
guess, yeah.
He was most of the 80s. He was in his 30s.
Yeah, late 70s, early 80s, I would say.
Yep, and it's funny.
Loves Top Gun.
Yeah.
Most dads do.
Yeah, no one's perfect.
So, from what this says, I don't know if this is true. It's just quick Google here. A 12-inch 78 record is 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Oh my god.
So yeah, that's why those shorts were really short.
Yeah.
Oh, lining that up. Oh,
Can't even imagine.
They would have had to mark the record.
Oh, I know.
somehow.
It's still pain.
Except those 78s were like, they weren't like plastic vinyl, like they were like clay almost. So they break so like easy, and when they break, they're sharp as Drew and I in college always used to joke about keeping a 78 around because if anybody ever came after us, we could just break it and cut their throat with it.
I like that.
dance, grease monkey, to quote Cotton Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I always think about too is like, when it comes to the silent movies, because I'm going to take a wild guess and say the two of you don't really watch that many silent movies.
No.
And that's fine, because it is not what we're used to.
But you want to know something really funny, though?
What?
As much as I can say that at this point in my life, I have not seen that many silent movies, and I just don't watch that many on a day-to-day basis, I adore when any show or any movie nowadays still has a sequence without sound.
That's fine.
Right? Isn't that interesting?
It's different. From what I think you're talking, I don't think you're talking about like the style of being the same.
Not the style per se, but I greatly appreciate the medium of movies, because when you can tell a story without anybody speaking, I think that's awesome.
That's one of my favorite things about A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
In fact, the only thing I don't like is the thing that we agree on. Krasinski.
John Krasinski.
Yeah, I said Jim Caviezel.
That is not...
Stupid sound of freedom. Gosh. John Krasinski screaming is the part of that. It's one of the very few times in that movie you actually hear someone talk. I think the other time is when they're at the waterfall,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense within the context of the movie. But just you have this moment where he's going to make sound, and that's the sound he makes. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. The reason I bring up the silent movie things is like, we're both born in the 90s, Jake in the 80s. We don't grow up watching that. Mm-hmm. We're accustomed to sound, or at least if they're not talking, there's sound and music and all that, whereas silent movies are not super accessible in that way for us, and it's not like I sit down and watch them all the time. I gotta be in a specific mood.
I was going to say, like, you say we don't watch them, and I'd say I would watch them. I would be more than open to watching. I just don't think that they're that accessible.
They're not.
Like not to like sit down and watch them, but to like actually like get them to watch them.
There's physical releases that there's plenty, like Kino Lorber's one. I have plenty of them. Criterion has some too. It's not like they aren't. There's plenty out there to buy, but you'd have to buy them.
But I was gonna say, like, those
should be on. I'm sorry, Max. I changed my tune on this. You guys know what I said about Max. They need to make those kind of movies available to watch.
I think that they are doing that because Max has a ton of classic movies.
It's Warner Brothers, of course But
also, like, Paramount does too. Like, they both have like pretty old catalogs. Like I watched this on Max, Casablanca's on Max.
Because I think I don't know about Paramount.
Who shot
HBO.
Liberty Valance is on Max.
You said it right. Not the man from Liberty Valance. Yeah, I was gonna say the Max one though. That's curated by TCM.
Yes, and
So that's
TCM
another
almost
reason.
died.
I know.
Which
Thank you, Marty and PTA, for helping save that.
Yeah.
Because TCM is a very, very big reason for some of my classic movie watches. Many classic movie watches, and I would be very sad if
What's
it went
that
away.
one we saw? Emma, up in Mackinac, where we were trying to guess.
Yeah, recently Jake and I were up a trip up north in Michigan, Mackinac area, and we just went to a restaurant with our group, and TCM was always on. I remember a couple years ago, TCM was on showing a movie, and I didn't recognize it, and I forgot to look up what it was. And this time, the movie on, we looked up like the playing, and it was this movie Emma. Nothing to do with the old Emma book, which, of course, that's what Clueless is based off of, making that connection. But it's just, why can I not remember her name? Now I have to look it up.
Old Emma.
Is it Marie Dressler? Yes. Marie Dressler plays like the caretaker of a rich family. And I saw it, I go, oh. And I realized, oh, she's nominated for this. And I've been working through the acting nominations of all time. So it's like, I have to watch this eventually. And then one night I was like, it's on the TCM app, which I have because my parents still have cable. So I watched it. It's like all it took was just TCM, great. TMC
Good
and
thing
Dynamite,
you-
yeah. And then, but TCM was
Good
on
thing
in
he
the other
didn't go
room.
CMT. That's the whole thing.
Oh, that's very different.
And it was just on in the other room. And that was enough for me to look it up, see what it was, rabbit hole into other movies, and then within the week, watched it. And I didn't think it was that special of a movie.
It's not.
She's great. The rest, everything else kind of meh. It's only like an hour long. So there's a lot to be desired. But I watched it.
It still
That's the whole point.
has its place in
exposure.
history, though.
Yep. And she died not long after, Marie Dressler died not long after that movie, too. So it's kind of like this little bit of a hint of like, oh, this is kind of like watching her in the last couple years of her life.
Oh,
Like, it's a little sad, too, to think about. And because she has a screen presence, and she's funny. Like, that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It made, and I think I'd only seen her in, like, one thing in a smaller role or something. So watching it's like, I'm exposed to someone that I've not really paid attention to before. And that's the power of having that accessibility. Going back to my original point, though, the point I was making with the silent movies is like, and this has happened in the last couple years, the more I've bought them and watched them, I'm realizing like there's some really, really, really cool ones because the medium was getting really good at the visuals and the budget's getting bigger, just really expanding what it can do. And for how much sound is good, and we've had it for almost 100 years, it did set visual storytelling on a lot of movies back because of the technology. And I noticed that a couple years ago watching through some early sound movies for the Best Picture nominees, and they're very stiff because they have mics in certain places, and they don't do much camera movement, and the sets are simple because probably a lot of time and money is spent on the sound recording technology.
That makes sense.
And there are always exceptions. There are always good movies on both sides. It's just once you start getting into the 30s, it starts to catch up again. But there is that space of like, we had to kind of take a step back to go a step forward because
Also, brand new
technology.
technologies like that just never work right
No.
when they first are developed.
The jazz singer itself is mostly silent.
It is. Yeah.
It has sequences that are in sound, but and that's what threw me off when I watched it. Oh man, 10 years ago. It's like he'd sing. Al Jolson would sing a couple times wearing makeup.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice that our introduction to sound is? Yep.
That's very
So
unfortunate.
it's America.
Only in
But I was watching it. And I'm like, wait, I thought this was a sound movie. I've watched Singin' in the Rain my whole life, and they said it was the first talkie. It is. But it's just sequences of it. And it's weird because it's not just the singing. There are
would
some scenes that have dialogue, too.
That would probably
But then
make
it goes back to the silent
That
stuff.
would probably make it easier to line up, though, because if you
that's
say,
exactly what it
if
is.
you say it's so it's a 5-minute sequence that has sound, right?
Yeah.
If this is true, and 78 it has a 5-minute runtime, and you have a movie that has 5 sequences of 5 minutes.
Something like that, which makes sense. I think it's like 90
They can
minutes.
say at this time code, or when you switch this reel, put
Roll
this
the-
on here.
Yeah.
How long are you?
And those
89 minutes.
And those old phonographs were not easy needle drops like what we have now.
That's true. Yeah. it'd be a lot
That's
harder
that
to
big,
line up.
thick death needle.
Yeah. 89 minutes, so it makes perfect sense. Like you're saying, like during the silent parts, they line up the next audio, get ready for
Yeah,
it.
I mean, like I can't say that for sure, obviously, but
But then it makes sense. It'd probably work that way.
One of my favorite stories by Al Jolson is shot to stardom with that movie. Kind of fell by the wayside after some success, after that. In like the early 40s, tried out to play himself in his own biopic and didn't get the part.
Oh my god.
It's so tragically funny. He tried out to play himself and they said no.
That's great.
It's just a funny little anecdote there. And I was just thinking, because I've bought some silent movies too. This is going back to the visuals thing, that I haven't watched that, but they're like, because they're 3 hours long, but they're like these visual spectacles. Some stuff by like Murnau and Fritz Lang that's in there, and I'm going to slaughter it. It's like the Nibelung. Someone out there's like, wow, that was bad, but it's like a 2-parter epic that one of them made, and it's like, it's not like I'm going to sit down and watch a 3-hour silent movie offhand,
God,
but you
I
got to
would
set
do
aside time. But yeah, and then other things like I have seen Greed. I've seen like the 2.5-hour cut, which apparently the original cut was like 5 hours, but they lost it. Heard crazy stats like of the silent era, which late 1800s into the 1920s, they only have like 30% of it saved. Like the majority of it's just gone because they didn't know about preservation, or they didn't try to preserve. They just in and out, always trying to find new stuff. So it's just insane that there's so much we'll never see. The good thing is there's still stuff out there that we just haven't found yet, and hopefully it's in a state where we can watch it. And of course, as the movie talks about, doesn't go into as much, but certain careers changed for better or worse
Yeah.
because of talkies. Cause
Look at Cosmo.
but the voice, I was saying it's the actors, the voices didn't match. And that's what, I'm going to hold it up now. The Artist is about. Have you both seen The
I've
Artist?
actually not seen
You've
it.
not seen it? You've seen it.
yeah.
So The Artist, without spoiling the whole story, is Jean Dujardin is a silent film star who does not buy into the talkies, and he loses his career because he won't do that, and also like his time has passed. And it's kind of about how his career ends in a way, because he's a silent film star and now everything's talky. And then
That's
Bernie
interesting.
Spejo is
It's
like
really
a new
interesting.
rising star.
I have only seen it once. I wonder how I would react to it now, because I feel like it's like 2013 or
2011.
2011. Okay, I was a very different person.
Yeah. When did I watch it last? A couple years ago, I watched it again, and I remember thinking, like, it does kind of feel like, because the whole gimmick is the movie's a silent movie.
Oh, okay.
It's a silent movie.
Oh, interesting.
And it won Best Picture, got all these awards. It does feel like your typical Oscar bait Oscar movie. I love it. It's about movies. It's a silent movie. It's
You
one
do
big
love
gimmick.
a movie about movies.
Yeah, I'm basic like that. There's just something interesting about making something about the thing that you make. I don't know what it is.
Self-referential
I mean, just this past,
stuff is super interesting.
just this past year, not this year, but last year, Fablemans.
Yep. Which is more in the vein of telling your own story.
Well, it's not.
through
Yeah, it's
characters.
not a movie about making movies, but it kind of also is. You've
about
not
Spielberg.
you've
I
not
still-
seen it yet,
no,
have
I
you?
still haven't gotten a chance.
It makes you
It's-
rethink how you watch Spielberg movies, because you realize the personal connection and you kind of connect it to him. And there's just
I would probably say
It's-
it's my
it's
favorite
different.
of last year, for sure.
it's so good.
It's
I
not.
know, it's on.
it-
It's on my ever-growing list. I need.
It's
to,
not better than Everything Everywhere, but I feel more from it.
Yeah, I have some examples too of like, because like one
Movies
example
about making movies.
no about I was gonna say about silent films and people's careers. So I brought a copy.
Oh
of
man, you got a
Ah.
whole list of
So
He
lists
was.
over there.
I feel like he spent the last like 20 weeks of his life taking what we did wrong about ours and just like,
yeah.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
I have a lot of physical media and I like to show it off.
Or just like
are cool.
wishing that we'd have done things differently, but not telling us. And then I'm just going to bust this out when I get to mine.
Yeah.
I actually didn't think it was till the last couple weeks. So I was like, I'll do that. And then I grabbed these on the way out today. So you got The Big Parade, which has John Gilbert. Big Parade was the highest grossing movie when it came out, beating I believe it was Birth of a Nation's record, and then would get beat by, I think it had it till Gone with the Wind. There might be something in between. There probably is. I'm forgetting. I could look it up, but I'm not going to. So John Gilbert's an example, and this ties into Singing in the Rain, where, the whole, like, do I have to say this line, or can I just do my usual, I love you, and it's stupid.
And they're making fun of that as they walk out of the theater.
I love you, outside. And what they're talking about is, like, John Gilbert, though it's not necessarily the voice didn't match the face, they'd give him terrible lines to say that were so goofy, people couldn't take him seriously anymore. So his career goes downhill because they gave him bad stuff to work with, bad writing.
Which that also makes, I don't mean to cut you off really quick, but that makes sense. I feel like at the beginning there was probably a lot of bad writing. Like there was a lot of getting used to, wait, we have to use dialogue? That's such a, like that that's such
and
a
it's good, you gotta like make it simple enough for the audiences, because it's like, we gotta remind them this isn't a stage production, this isn't Shakespeare, this is a movie. Like something's gotta play through, because if you've noticed throughout history, studios tend to look down on their audiences.
Yes,
it's always been a thing, because it's more about, we can't confuse them because then they won't like it. We can't make them think about it. They just have to consume it and keep coming back to consume it for the same mindless reason.
You couldn't possibly be referring to any contemporary studios out there right now.
Not at all.
Yeah,
not one of the biggest franchises in movie history at this point.
And there was also a period of time where they used to. There was, I'm trying to remember the actual term that Warner Brothers said, but they were
like
they just
real sets.
Well, no, like
what?
When,
real sets.
When they were spitting out movies, like it was like during the Depression era. It was just like movie after movie after movie after movie after movie. Like, do you remember? Like, wasn't there a specific term?
Oh, the 30s, they churned out movies so quick.
I thought there was a specific.
Was it because
term
they were
for that.
cheap to make, or because they?
It's just like assembly line movie making.
Maybe that's what I was thinking.
It'd be. Yeah. That's why directors would direct multiple movies a year like that, like nothing, because they'd move one project to the next. And they did it like an assembly line, because the quicker you got them out, because people were going to see actors. And actors still look today, it's not as common. We're under studio contracts, and like directors were to a specific thing. And I remember a film professor saying, you could walk into a theater, and just by who's on screen and all that, you could tell what studio made it.
Yeah.
It was like that easy. And movies were really cheap back then, too, to get into. And you'd have double bills. Like, people would spend all day at the movies for cheap. And that's why if you just keep them coming. That's why they kept churning out. And that's why they didn't preserve, because they were too focused on just getting more made. It was quantity over quality.
Yeah. It's just interesting that I want to point this out to anybody that's missed this point. That's always been an issue. It's not just now with, I'm just going to say it, Marvel. It's not just an issue with them. It's always been an issue. This is nothing new. So,
and whereas I think some of the intentions there by Feige and co. are more of, we're trying to push out something we do care about. Yeah, but I also think they don't really think about the quality of it, as long as just let's anymore. Get this out.
I think contemporary intentions are a little bit more nefarious than when the medium was new.
I don't know. I think it's always been this bad.
Well, if you go way far back, Edison tried to fully monopolize the whole thing.
So, I mean, the movie industry was founded on theft.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't his invention, but he made his own version of it. I think like the Lumiere brothers are often credited with like the first. It's that train pulling into the station one. Yeah. I know the horse thing. I always forget the name of it. Is like the first thing of like an actual film. It's just the horse galloping.
Yeah, I remember.
I'll look it up in a second.
I remember learning that in film school. Back in Grand Valley and like
I think it's just called The Horse in Motion.
Lake Superior Hall's basement.
Superior, you know it, baby.
Yep, The Horse in Motion from 1878.
And also Kirchhoff's basement.
Oh, Kirchhoff's basement, man.
I recorded my first album in that basement.
Me too. Great memories.
So Edison, being a true American, stole someone's idea and claimed it as his own.
That is just the only true American experience. I stole something, and I'm profiting off of it.
There's other stories of that, too, of Edison being a bit of a bastard.
Oh, yeah.
Just, that was Edison. It's like he got the idea, made his own version, tried to fully monopolize, just control every little thing, because he had his little Nickelodeon things, and just he was trying to control the means of the whole thing. And on the one hand, it's like, man, what a scummy thing to do. And on the other hand, respect.
Because we're American.
The man recognized the profit in it. Now, yes, it's not for artistic reasons, but for profit. But he recognized there's value in this very early thing where you watch something for 10 seconds, just through a little view thing. So it helped, and he added some things that I forgot to write in my notes, but there is value to what Edison brought, of course. You don't need me to tell you that, and film professors will always tell you that. But just from the beginning, this was a money-making venture.
Yep.
So, guys, how long has it been since we actually talked about Singing in the Rain?
I
mentioned it a bit ago. I was in the middle of showing off my props.
You
I've got more.
Oh, I'm not.
You have more props?
He has a giant Santa bag down there.
I don't have a giant
Santa.
Santa.
Stand up over it, but
No, I was going to say, so I showed you John
Tim
Gilbert.
Allen of movies over here.
Yes, he's the only actor to play Santa.
I mean, you have put on the suit.
That's true.
But the reindeer didn't know what to do.
No,
They're still sitting right here doing nothing.
Oh, your
comment.
My comment?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, I'm Comet.
Oh.
Wait, hold on. I'm pretty sure
You're
I got
down there like the party.
I'm pretty sure I got a gym class note for that. I'm crippled. I can't do it.
Rudolph.
Rudolph's not crippled. His skills are
say
augmented. My skills are not augmented by my
really?
disability.
Enlighten
Thanks
me.
a lot, you jerk.
Wow, Jared.
How dare you say my disability augments my disability?
I didn't say you said that. I just said because
You
were
inferred it.
infrared.
Is that what this light is?
No, that's Rudolph's nose.
Ah.
That.
It is red.
That's why he leads the pack, is because he's got that infrared sensor.
I am so glad you figured that out on your own. It brings me much joy.
Are you sure it wasn't, 29 years of being sung a song?
He's not 29.
How old are you?
Very close. I'm 28.
Oh,
I'm
well, he's
29.
29 counting the amount of time he was unborn. I'm telling you, my dad messed me up with that way of counting it.
It's a terrible, terrible way to
My
count.
dad has always referred to me as a year older than what I actually am.
It's a little different because you're at the end of the year, so you're your age in that year for like 2 weeks.
He did it to my sister too, and she's in like August. I guess that's not that different, but there were two purposes. One, he was programming me.
Your face just. Sorry.
Let's be okay. I'm gonna let you into my. I'm gonna let you into what was going on in my mind. I was gonna say grooming, and then I realized that's bad. So I stopped. I stopped myself, and that is the look I make when I stop something in my brain.
I'm glad you changed your mind on that. Oh
So
my God.
he was
Preparing.
instilling me with the idea that you count the time that you are gestating.
Oh my God.
Number two, it was used to make me feel like I'm supposed to be more responsible than I was in the given situation that he would refer to me. Jake, you're 19 years old. Dad, I'm only 18. No, you're 19. You should know better. Okay, Dad.
Really funny. Oh my God.
So I'm really up, yeah. Both, as you pointed out earlier, physically disabled, and as my parents have made so eloquently, mentally. No wonder I relate to Silver Linings Playbook.
Which, by the way, showed a scene of Singing in the Rain in it.
Yeah.
They watched the Moses Supposes for a brief second on her iPod. That was weird. Movies on iPods.
Oh, I gotta
It
go.
is funny how movies date themselves.
Yeah. Anyway, back to
That was a tangent.
That was a dark left turn anyway.
Yeah. So some other careers that I brought examples of just
Oh my Ken, how many movies do you have?
Hey, I'm in there.
Yeah, how did you fit that whole shelf in that Kohl's bag?
It's in our family bag. I don't go to Kohl's.
Yeah, you do.
No, they
Didn't
don't
you
have
buy-
anything in my size.
Didn't you buy those shorts from Kohl's? Or those
No.
shoes you bought with Dickey?
No, those weren't from Kohl's. That was a DSW, I think.
He's not fancy enough to go to DSW. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
it was DSW. I don't know.
Shoe
Carnival.
Carnival. That makes yeah.
I got my shoes at Shoe Carnival. I got my shorts off Amazon.
Oh.
Anyway, Jared, what's in Santa's goodie bag over there?
So, two careers that are very similar. Of the transition to sound didn't work well. Very physical comedians. We have Buster Keaton.
oh yeah.
So I brought the cameraman there just to show just one of his great silent movies. Not like the generals usually consider like the big one, Steamboat Bill Jr. and Sherlock Jr. or others, but this was the one of like, this is a fun cover of him tangled up with a monkey and a camera. So he's one that really took a sharp dive, and it's so sad because you see him in sound films, and it's just the poor guy did not have much of a career after that. It's like I'm watching what is it? In the good old summertime, and he's a supporting character, and it's like there's a scene where he has to like trip and destroy a violin, and it's funny, and it's his one shining moment in that movie. I go, the man still has it. At that point, he's in like his 50s. He still got it, but long ago, like 20 years before that, just everything changed.
Yeah.
That funny enough, he shows up in Sunset Boulevard, which is about a silent film star
Yeah, that's
who's
a good
lost
one.
her fame. Which
I've
you've
seen that one.
Yep, and also Buster Keaton's in this in a small part. So one of her friends playing cards with her. So there's another example. Like Gloria Swanson, very same thing of like this is her big comeback because silent film star kind of faded, came back. Oh, do you want to see the cover?
I was actually kind of looking at how big your stack's growing
Gotcha.
over there.
Gotcha.
It's getting up there.
Another one that
Oh
did
my
not
God,
make
there's
the,
more.
that didn't make it is Harold Lloyd. There's a pretty famous one. Safety
I
Last.
love that. That's
classic.
one I have seen, and I love it.
It's the whole movie's him climbing up that tower.
Oh, it's Criterion. Are they still printing that?
I don't know. This one came out
I've
in
seen-
2013, so they should be. I wouldn't.
I should have
think
bought
they
that
are.
one on the flash sale.
I've seen that picture on the side.
Oh,
of
it's one of the iconic images of film. Just him hanging
That's
off
the
that
one where they
clock.
built the thing on top of a building.
Yeah, they built like a story of it to film chunks of on top of a roof, and it's like they didn't actually build the full thing and have him climb up this like 8-story building. So, but if he would have fall, the only thing catching him is a mattress on the top of the building. But as they've shown and things I've watched, he hits that mattress. He's rolling off that roof. He is not staying on that roof, so he better hang on. So when you watch it with the thought of like, he could actually fall and die.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's simple. It's really short, too. 73 minutes.
Oh my God.
It's mostly the climb, too. He did
So it's
not
nice,
make
so
the
it's-
transition. I have seen a sound film with him. It's, I believe, Speedy is a sound film, and I love Speedy. I think it was sound. It was either his first sound or his last silent. It's been a while since I've seen it, but Harold Lloyd, I think, is my favorite of the big three, which I'll bring up the third one in just a second in my last little goodie.
Oh,
You'll know who it is. It's a big name,
We
but
finally got to your last one. I'm guessing it's Charlie Chaplin.
yep. So I brought the Great Dictator.
that is not just a big name. That is the
huge
name.
Yeah, so
Jeez.
Chaplin made the transition very well, mainly because the
They do.
voice fit, and he kind of expanded how his movies are. Like this one, a lot of the political stuff in with the comedy. How on one side you have the dictator himself just being this goofy, wacky dude despite being pretty terrible. And then the other side playing the Jewish barber, that it's a lot more wholesome while being simultaneously very sad and tragic. Kind of the juxtaposition there, because one second you're laughing at him, and I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's Jack Oakey. Just like, hey, Hinky! Instead of calling him Hinkle, he calls him Hinky. Like, laughing at that stuff, or like the bulletproof vest, and he shoots the guy, and he, not bulletproof enough. Like, and then you go to, like, the story about, the Jewish people suffering under Hinkle's law. Like, the way he does it, it's like he pushed what he was doing beyond just, the comedies he was doing. And I think that's why he was able to survive, as well as just having more control. Also, this cover's fun where you can flip it.
That's a really cool cover.
That's all I brought.
So
They're just
really
some
quick,
silent film
can we
stuff.
get a count on all the props that
It
you
looks
brought
like
today?
I'm
going
gonna guess
like 10.
No,
9.
I'm going 8.
Oh,
Nine.
that was close.
Yeah, so there's the stack there.
Tune into YouTube so you can see all of Jared's pretty props.
Just thought I'd bring that just to show. And that's just my whole spiel. It's silent cinema. Like, it's so interesting. And, again, being born in the 90s, you're surrounded by modern movies.
You're not gonna see
It's just, it's not just, it's more of a, I can watch them. It's not like I just sit down and do it anytime. You got to be in a mood for, because some people can probably just sit down and watch them anytime. Because then there are other silent movies that have been incredibly powerful and really good. Big one is Murnau Sunrise. That's one that I saw in like 3 or 4 different film classes. So I've seen that a bunch, and I'd watched it before all those classes. Metropolis, Fritz Lang's Metropolis is a big one. I've seen the 3-hour version, and then I've seen the 80s cut Giorgio Moroder version with 80s pop songs to it, and I don't like it because I don't like 80s pop music. But it's a good brochure version of the movie, if that's your thing. There are moments where it works. It's not awful. And then you have another big one I just lost. Well, there's The Last Laugh, which I watched this year. Very good, very sad. There's one more that I had on the tip of my tongue. Battleship Potemkin's another big one.
Oh, yeah.
Eisenstein being a big name in film history. So that's my whole spiel on silent. It's so interesting. It's like some of the peak visual storytelling and some of those big ones. And then huge step back because the technology changed and the industry changed. And again, no one thought talkies would explode, but the jazz singer did really well.
I think the best piece of silent media is the underwater scene from BoJack Horseman.
But there's still sound.
That's true.
It's just there's no sound. And there is talking. We just can't understand it because we're not fish.
Yep.
Speaking this made-up language for an adult animated show from the 2010s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my whole big tangent about silent film. So it is this huge change. So we go back to Singin' in the Rain. It's like, this is a huge moment in film history, and they're focusing on it because they changed the movie overnight, basically.
Yeah, they really did. They talked about it.
But it's such a good idea.
That's true.
And it's actually not that hard of a fix when you think it's like, we've already shot a bunch of this. We can just reshoot. What did they say? Add some new scenes, cut the bad ones, and we're good. And it's like, yeah, makes sense. They have everything at their disposal, and it works already because it's like, and that's the other thing too. Like, Don is a musical person. He came up through vaudeville, performing since he was a kid. Always been musically gifted. It's a perfect match for him to transition into sound because he already can.
But not Lena.
No. And she was nominated for this performance too.
Oh, really? Good for her.
Yeah, that's one of the 2 nominations. I think another one's for a music-based thing. Funny how it made money. It was like the 10th highest grossing movie that year. A couple Oscar nods, but the prestige and the importance it has now is even bigger than it was. Again, when it comes out, people like it. Now it's considered an all-time great. So, and just some of those sequences now, I mentioned, and one thing I wrote online was like, when I was a kid, there were a couple moments that were really, really slow and bored me. His song to Kathy, I think that's You Were Meant for Me. The one I was talking about
where she's on the stage.
Yep.
Yeah.
When he's like literally setting the stage. We'd sometimes skip through that when we were little kids. Because we're bored. It's a love song. We want to get to the funny
It's not
stuff.
going to be entertaining when you're a child.
And it's like, not that as an adult when I'd watch it, I'd skip it, but it's like, oh yeah, that's right. I watched it this time, and I watched it like, this is beautiful.
Oh my God.
And it's so simple, but it works so well. And then the other thing, of course, is the scarf sequence that we brought up and you were confused for a second.
I'm trying to remember.
Of Broadway Melody, where he and Sid Charisse dance on the stage. There's that great fade, because he sees her in the club when the character has made it. Mm-hmm. He sees her on the other side, and it fades into him with his back turned to her in the distance with the long scarf.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. It's like, and the choreographers in that thing talked about, like, they're blending dancing styles, because before that, when they dance in the underground, like speakeasy, it's a jazzy type thing, and now they're doing a more ballet thing. Mm-hmm. And, there's plenty of tap moments in the movie, too. Like, there's all kinds of stuff in there. You were going to say, Jake?
I was going to say a couple things. I think that, and again, like I told you, it's not a hot take at all. There is a moment in the intro of Broadway Melody where the camera pulls back from him right before we see the audience run in. and it's dark, and he's the only thing that's lit up.
That's
and then
a cool
all of the signs show up there like they're 2D, like they put them on there. And then the lights come on, and the camera moves through them in 3D, like in space. And it's like, that was a moment where I was like, what?
That's one of the coolest shots in this whole.
And they're running away from the camera with their hands up like this, doing jazz hands, right? Mm-hmm. And then they turn.
Mm-hmm. And then the only other thing, and it's stupid and minute. If I could change one thing about the movie, it would probably be if Broadway Melody is what's going on in his head, it would have made more sense to me, being an idiot, if the girl that appears in Broadway Melody was Debbie Reynolds. Or Debbie Reynolds. Is that right?
Are you talking about Kathy?
Yes.
That's Debbie Reynolds.
Okay.
Yeah. The whole point is it's because he tells RF what it's supposed to be, or they tell him, but that's after they say, like, how do we make it modern? And it's Cosmo comes with, it's a guy who's going to New York, and he gets hit on the head by something, and he dreams the whole French Revolution thing. So, and it is a whole fantasy element. It's an excuse to do the whole sequence, because it's a long sequence.
That was,
it's like 13 minutes.
Literally, I was watching, I was like, man, this is...
Yeah, so that was my... And it is like, when you're a kid, you're like, what does this have to do with anything? But if you've ever watched, like, classic Broadway theater, they'll have ballets in the middle of their shows that have nothing to do with anything. The original stage version of Bye Bye Birdie, there is a whole 6-minute dance sequence that's a ballet about her imagining her killing her boyfriend because she's mad at him. Because it's like, if I could just kill him, and like the stage lights turn red, the ballet starts. There's no singing. It's called like the 100 Ways ballet, 100 Ways to Kill Him.
That's interesting.
Doesn't progress the plot. Doesn't do anything. Just show inside her head that she's mad. But is it just 'cause that's what a lot of shows did? Mm-hmm. It's they have this big massive thing. One that does progress the plot, and an example is The King and I. They do it's Uncle Tom's Cabin. So I don't know how to talk about the political side of that other than that is smack dab in the middle of that show, and it's like 15 minutes long, and when you play bass for the show, it is only whole notes, and then there's like 8 measures of like 16th notes out of nowhere, just adding that in for fun.
So you have nothing to do but to pay attention to what's actually going on stage.
Kind of, no, you have to be watching that music, though, because it's not like the notes change much, but if you get lost, you get lost. But just... something that a lot of old shows have done is just smack dab in the middle is this big, long dance sequence that doesn't really have much to do with anything. But in the case of Singin' in the Rain, they're flexing their muscles with their camera work, their lighting, and their stage production. They're doing many different little vignettes of sorts, little sections of different types of dances in different locations, like the costumes and lighting and so like the speakeasy stuff. That green just bounces off the screen of her dress. And then you get to, again, like the shot where they're dancing alone with the scarf, and that white is really bright, but it's not super overexposed or anything. It's just... And another funny thing is they filmed that and then realized that through her costume they could see her pubic hair. So they had to refilm it after some modifications. So I thought that was funny. It's like... Yeah, that'd not get you passed by the
MPA.
It wasn't the MPA.
I was going to say, did that even exist at this point in time?
No, it was Hays Code.
No, it was Hays Code.
And the Catholic League of Decency or something like that. Which there is a hard cut in the speakeasy that feels weird, and I think it's because there's like a second or two that the dancing was a little too close and suggestive for their liking, so they had to cut it, and that's like the only thing they had to cut, but... They get real close to each other, and as a kid, you're like, "What's going on?" But
it's awakening things.
Also, Sid Charisse is taller than Gene Kelly, so that's why every time they dance together, one or both of them are leaning. They said that in the featurette too, like because Gene Kelly has to be big man, he can't look little because he wasn't that big.
He's a Gene Kelly.
But yeah, that's that whole sequence. Just watching it this time, it's like, this is so good. It's long, but I love it. It's so good. And I'm glad seeing your reaction to it was very positive, and you finding stuff in that. It's like, this is really good. So that warmed my heart. I wasn't sure what. Not that you dislike it, but I think you said like you were scared. You'd probably be like, I appreciate this more than I like this.
Yeah,
but
it happens a lot when
But you said like
watch
that.
older films.
That and the how funny it was to you is what kind of cinched it for you. So, yeah. So good. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna open this too because I wanted to show the umbrella. I've never opened the umbrella.
Are you gonna open the umbrella?
You can't open it inside.
Yeah, I can. It's
He's
Singing in the
not
Rain.
superstitious.
All right.
Just the little stitches. I actually
But
bought
But
this.
I would think that you couldn't open it and have them see it because of this.
That's true. I don't know how big it is.
Sign probably would block it. Yeah.
We'll see. So it's funny. I bought this for my friend, Hammy, our good old buddy on this podcast way back. And I gave him the better because I bought two because I bought one for him as a gift and I got one for myself. And this one has Scotch tape on the front because I bought it used. So, of course, I gave him the better one. So that's always fun to see.
How kind of you.
So I just thought it was funny. It's like, there's Scotch tape on the front of mine. I don't even think it's covering anything. I don't want to take it off, though.
That is such a doozy of a package right there.
Yep, so nice booklet here, which I've not read all of. I didn't have time to get through all of it. The discs, if I can get it out, come in this. And, of course, yeah, my Blu-ray skipped. Kind of look at that. Opens up.
Wow. That is a hell of a display. So what version, like, what disc do you watch the most?
Out of the discs?
Yeah, out of all
well,
the
there's
ones.
DVD with the movie, a second DVD with the featurette, and then the Blu-ray has all of it on one. It's just and this came out in 2012 when they were pushing both. I've never opened this, so I'm very curious.
Of course, it has to be a red umbrella, of course. Very similar to one of the movie.
Yeah, on the front there.
Yep.
I hope I can put this away, too.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's not red.
The outer thing is red. Yeah, let me...
Oh.
This isn't doing anything for the audio listeners. Just bear with us.
That's
Ladies
really...
and gentlemen, I'm very concerned about where this is going to go.
I think it's when you have to push. Nope. Oh, there you go. Look at that.
It's not going to show all of it. The sign cuts it off, but it's
Look
basically
at that.
60th anniversary Singing in the Rain. There's the sun in the middle with clouds and
That's
rain.
quite an umbrella.
Here's a
does it smell
question,
like?
though.
Nothing.
What is it? Okay.
Completely unrelated to the umbrella thing. I'm just going to cover some time while he gets that back together. Do you think, because I guess I thought that the umbrellas were yellow, but I guess that they're not. I guess that they're red. I was going to correlate the color of the umbrella in How I Met Your Mother to this.
Yeah.
Also, those boots that Debbie Reynolds is wearing in that opening scene, how is she? Her feet are probably soaking wet. They're like they're like open. They're not like tied or anything.
100%. There's no way that's actually made to keep water out.
I'm going to do this after we stop.
That's probably a good idea.
I can't get it back in.
That's what she said.
Waiting for that.
Oh, you see, he teed me right up there.
You opened yourself up for that.
Yeah, he really did.
That's also what she said.
Yes.
That's quite a collection you got there. Nicely
Yeah,
done.
it's cool to actually open it. I just got to get back in.
We're going to.
Maybe. We don't know yet.
Oh, is that? We're trying not to say it.
We don't know what.
I'll
are you
bleep you.
talking about?
Okay.
It's somewhere on this list. We won't tell you where.
I'll bleep again. Oh,
bleep
that's
that.
cool. The little tail is a little umbrella. Look at that.
Oh, that is pretty. How about that?
Yeah. Oh, about that opening scene. For some reason, my dog would bark at that scene and nothing else in the movie. There's people all over that movie and singing and dancing just like that. And there's rain and the whole thing. She never barked at any of it. The second she saw that opening scene, she'd run up to the TV and bark. Just the opening. The second it went to the main title, she'd stop. I don't know what she was barking at. They do similar stuff the whole movie. Just that opening scene. We'd start the movie and she'd see it and just run up and start barking. So I'll always remember that about the movies. My dog barking at them singing in the rain at the beginning.
Very interesting.
Were they singing in the rain?
Yeah, they're literally singing the song.
Wait, so are you telling me that they sing in the rain and sing in the rain?
No, I don't think so.
No way, right?
It's one of those irons.
Can
Can you guys imagine physically editing film?
God, no.
I don't want to think about it.
That would be such a
I always
pain
think,
in the
like,
ass.
Dude, think about how much anxiety you have just editing film and shooting film now.
Yeah, just digitally, yeah.
Yeah.
Now imagine doing
screw
it
it
where
up.
you can't screw up.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you've seen Hail Caesar, you get your scarf caught in it and it chokes you.
Oh.
You've seen Hail Caesar.
Mm-mm.
No, I haven't.
It's a good movie.
I've heard.
There's a part where Frances McDormand, she's playing an editor, and her scarf gets caught in the thing, and she's just...
Oh, God.
And they quick hit the button, and it backs it up. And it's like, hey, I can't have any like long hair or anything sticking out to get caught.
Is that Coen Brothers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2016.
Alden Ehrenreich was his big thing.
Yep. Yeah.
Was that the last one they did?
No. They did what is it? Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
That's
years
right.
later.
I always forget about that one.
That's a good one.
There's probably one I'm missing, but then of course one of them did the Macbeth movie a couple years ago.
I wasn't counting ones that they did individually.
Yeah. Buster Scruggs might be the last one. I feel like I'm forgetting one, but anyway. Yeah, I feel like I had more, but I think we're about
I
at
think,
the...
I got all my piece out.
Yeah, just... It's more of a basic pick. It's one of the most iconic movies of all time, but there's just something, even you saying like, man, I forgot how good this is.
I mean,
And Jake
sometimes-
never seeing it is just like, this is really good.
Sometimes the most basic and simple picks are the best ones. They are. Don't laugh at like that.
What's the term from the horse's mouth?
I didn't laugh. I more
Grinned.
scoffed.
Yeah. Just saying that they're the most notable for a reason.
Yeah, we've never said that basic picks are bad. Just that, because we all all of us have 2 or 3 at least.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason things are popular. There's a reason things get picked a lot, and there's a reason things are influential and stay. This is gonna continue to live on for generations because people connect to it still.
Also, they teach it when they teach people how to make movies.
That's when I first saw it.
Yeah, just great time. Can't wait to see it again. Couple years when I get around to it again. That's how
You
it's
mean
been
you're not
going.
going to run home tonight and watch it again? I mean, it's your 10th favorite film.
Doesn't mean I rewatch my favorite. I mean, as I said, it's been multiple years since I've seen most of them. So, yeah. Do we have any other closing thoughts?
I got my
Let's
piece
see.
out, man. This is a good movie. If you haven't seen it by this point, after I was talking about it this long, go watch it.
Yeah. Wish I would have seen when this came out, they had it in theaters again.
I was
My
about to
family
say,
went to see it, I believe, or a couple of them did, and it was a choice of like, I would have had to come home from work, quick change, and go right back out. And I said no because I was tired or just didn't feel like being out, and I should have just gone because it's a regret you have. And it was in theaters last year for its 70th, but
I was gonna say
didn't
it's
come through around here.
75th is coming up in a couple of years. Then won't it?
I mean,
a couple
4.
years,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Is it more or bigger or smaller regret than what movie did you choose to go see instead of a different movie?
Are you saying when I went to see National Treasure Book of Secrets instead of Ratatouille in theaters? Maybe not that as big of a regret as that.
Oh, that's great.
Because it's like, oh, I want to go see this because I'm older. And then now it's like, Ratatouille is one of my favorite movies. It's it's like
And
second or
National
third
Treasure
favorite.
2 isn't.
Yeah, whatever happened in National Treasure 3?
They had a show instead
Yeah, I got a show.
What
that
was that
already
show
got
about?
canceled.
Other than a
National
National
Treasure.
Treasure.
I'm pretty sure it was them trying to find another treasure. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else, guys?
I have a question, an interesting question, actually for both of you. So, obviously, influential film. Other than it being just good, why do you think it is such an influential film?
I honestly think
I can't answer this because I've only seen it once. Hasn't really settled with me.
I think it's influential, and it's hard to say because I'm not as much of a encyclopedia as Jared is. But I genuinely feel like some of the techniques they used filming it, especially that last sequence, I don't know if there was some clever like compositing or how they got some of them.
Are you talking about the Broadway Melody one?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if like I said, if they use different technology or how they filmed it, but just the way that it looks, I think that influenced other movies. Like, oh, look how they did that. That's such cool. And then maybe they use that technology for other stuff. And also, I just think, and I know this definitely isn't the first time that Hollywood's referenced themselves. They love doing that. But I think they did it in a very clever way in this. And I think that also made people like, oh, we can actually make fun of, but also respect ourselves. And that's a very interesting thing to do, from my perspective.
I think the basic thing is it's the epitome of a whole genre. The movie musical is everything this movie does, and it also catalogs a specific time that, at this point, a lot of people remembered. So it's like keeping this thing alive and showing us how far we've come, technology-wise, culture-wise, society-wise. And yes, it's a more lighthearted approach to it, but it also is like, yeah, remember this and remember how this happened, and just kind of it's a celebration of movies.
Yeah, celebration.
It really is. There's no other way to say it for that one.
I do think that it will live longer than The Artist.
Oh, yeah, easily. People have already forgotten about The Artist. It's a shame. I really like The Artist.
It's a good movie.
But again, it's one of those, it kind of does go off a gimmick of, hey, this is how movies are made almost 100 years ago.
Wasn't The Artist also directed by, what's his name? The guy that is no longer...
I will give you $1 if you can guess the director of The Artist.
Who the director is.
Oh, you do? I'm going to make sure I say it right when you guess it wrong.
Because the thing is, I know who it is, but I also know that the way my brain works, and I'm not gonna wait. Oh, it's like at the front of at the front of my brain.
What's it start with?
It was the it's right there.
He's doing that thing that my brain did, but my brain shut down.
No, it's like.
Is your brain overheating?
Poland? Roman Polanski.
No.
Oh, I thought that's who.
It's Michelle Hazanavicius.
What am I thinking of Roman Polanski directing?
The
Pianist.
Roma.
You mistake the pianist for The Artist?
You realize there's a similarity in the title.
You know how significantly
the
different those movies are?
No, because I haven't seen either. But specifically the titles is what got... My bad. Never mind. I redact my entire statement that I just made. Moving on.
Yeah,
so
Roman Polanski's The Artist is a drastically different movie.
One is... Actually, they're both kind of sad, so...
In different ways.
Yeah.
One's a little more...
Draining?
Yes. So
never mind. I redact my statement.
Well, it's nice in the last chunk of this episode we got a classic Dickey moment.
Oh, you know it.
Like, Roman Polanski? What are you talking about? The pianist.
The pianist, the artist?
I'm surprised. To be fair, I'm surprised you came up with the pianist.
Well, I mean,
the pianist.
I thought you said something else.
I'm sure you did.
Anyway, anything else about Singin' in the Rain? Not directed by Roman Polanski.
I mean, he was alive.
He was.
For how long?
I mean, Roman Polanski's still alive, I believe.
No, when was he born?
Somewhere in the 30s or 40s. He lived through the Holocaust. Hence why the pianist is very personal to him.
Thank you
I need to see that movie again.
Thank you for enunciating the pianist, because Jake was a little closer to the other. Anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, not at all.
Not at all. What do you?
Is that it?
I enunciate every letter that I say. What are you talking about?
If y'all guys love us talking about
then.
Jared's 10th favorite movie of all time, you want to see us talk about the other 9 through 1, where can they find us online?
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. And listen to us on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And hey, if it's YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, ring our bell. Make sure you rate and follow us on all those apps, and check out our groovy website.
Absolutely. So yes, like I said, now we're going to work our way through Jared's rest of his top 10. If you want to tease about what's coming up next, Jared, what is your 9th favorite movie that they should watch before next episode?
My 9th favorite movie is the only one that I've seen more recently. I watch it every year at Halloween. It is Mel Brooks' 1974 comedy, Young Frankenstein. My favorite horror movie of all time that we have covered before on the series, but now we're going to watch it fresh, and we're going to have a great time revisiting. I don't remember if either I think you've seen it. I
A
don't remember
while ago.
if you have.
Young Frankenstein, I've seen it before, not in a long time.
Yeah, it's the same. It's been a long time.
But
so
that's next week.
I'm looking forward to a rewatch, and you guys should watch it too. So until next time, we'll see you guys later.